Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. It's me, Kia Simone. Let's get into this last installment of these Real Housewives of Potomac before I go in and go off, because I'm gonna go in and go off. When y'all last saw me, I had 11.99 some odd subscribers, right? Okay. And I had just asked if y'all would please subscribe and get me to 12,000. Well, y'all got me to 12.2 thousand. So I would like to say thank you to all 12.2 thousand of my subscribers. I'm kind of famous. Thank y'all so much. And if you are not in that 12.2 thousand subscribers of mine, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Okay, yeah. We can take a moment of silence to subscribe if you need a second. And of course, I got to shout out my super thanksters. Thank you so much to Tanya Fuller, Amber Lede, Lisa Simmons, and Yvette Greer. I love y'all. I really appreciate y'all more than y'all know. Okay, now let's get into this review because these heifers, I'm tired of them. They real stressful, they real sickening, and they real embarrassing. Let's just get into it. So part 3 opens up with Jacquline dragging Mia by her lies and her family business that's all in shambles. Jacquline said, yeah, Mia, there's a whole lot of stuff that I believed about you that I found out wasn't true. Mia said, well, name it. Tell me what you knew about me to be true that you found out wasn't true. Jacquline said, well, let's start with you not being the CEO of your business. I said, well, okay. Jacquline said, you were never the CEO of your business. Gordon was the CEO. Ashley over there falling out because you know this is up her alley. Somebody else's tea is spilled all over the table. What you mean, girl? Mia said, that's a damn lie. Jacquline said, would you like me to prove that that's not a damn lie? She said, yeah, go ahead and prove it. They get to pulling out receipts. Mia pulls her out a bedazzled picture box. I know Mia ain't got nothing but a stack of paper. You can shred that like Jacquline is shredding your ass. Jacquline said lie number 2 is you claim to be with my mother on Mother's Day. I have proof, as in a text message from my mother, that you were not with my mother on Mother's Day. So of course, they're waiting for clarification on that. And Mia said, yeah, that's correct. I didn't see her mother like in person on Mother's Day, but I was with her on FaceTime. Everybody just, oh, okay, well, that clears that up. No, ask her why she lied like y'all would ask anybody else. Jacqueline said lie number 3 is her accusing me of being with married men when the truth is her husband don't know her whereabouts half the time because her husband called me looking for her when she was in Atlanta and he thought she was there with another man. Mia said, well, that's kind of true. What had happened was she was going to go to brunch with her ex-boyfriend's mom in Atlanta, and Gordon got upset about that. What in the brothel hell kind of house is y'all running? So Andy moves on to ask Jacqueline, has she and Mia ever slept together? Jacqueline is saying no, but she won't look up. And Mia is looking everywhere but at the truth. Wendy said, oh, so it was just a narrative and what? Y'all just ran with it? Jacqueline said no. Mia never said that we slept together. I think it was just a narrative that the ladies believed. And Robyn speaks up to say, well, y'all were both kind of coy about the situation. Giselle said, well, here's the thing. You're a grown woman, so when asked if you're sleeping with or have slept with someone, the answer is either yes or no. I said, well, I know you lying. Not the heifer who don't tell nobody who she sleeps with, where she sleep at, nothing. So Andy asked Jacqueline, are you sleeping around with married men? She said, no, I'm not. So he asked Mia, well, where did you get that from? And Mia said, well, I'm going to just let her have that one. So Andy asked again, do the two of them have a sexual relationship with each other? Which they both deny, nobody believes. And Mia is defending by saying, I take showers with lots of my girlfriends. And Candiace gave her the nasty side eye she deserved. So the next viewer question is to Mia, and the question was, if you had such a problem with Jacqueline supposedly sleeping with married men, why wouldn't you address that with her in private rather than bringing that up in front of a whole group of friends? And she says, well, she only brought that up as a reaction because Jacqueline said to her that she needs to get more dick. Well, Jacqueline said that because Jacqueline is the only one of the ladies who knew that Gordon is a prostate cancer survivor. And apparently he's having some issues following that medical issue. Mia said Jacqueline used that moment to come for her husband and his inability to perform. I guess his rotten staff is no longer comforting her. Now, here's my thing. We would have never known that if you had not said that. Whatever happened to discretion? Why don't y'all keep some shit to yourselves? Y'all always keep the wrong shit to yourselves and then want to tell us all this unnecessary bullshit. Nobody needs to know. But that has to be a lot to deal with. That you got ousted from your company, kicked out all the rental properties, and your man don't even work like that no more. Mia says, so since Jacquline came for her man's peen that don't work, she came for how she be working on married men. And then Mia told her to tread lightly because in this box, in this stack of Prenup paper here, I got text messages from you saying that I need to stop sleeping with married men. Don't play with me. Now, the thing is, Jacqueline didn't dispute anything. Andy spoke up to ask Mia. He said, hold on. If you met Gordon as a married man, how can you say close your legs to married men? Mia said, well, I should have closed my legs to married men, but I didn't. The difference is I'm not denying it. She is. So, like I had said, she don't want to be the only home-wrecking heifer out here. Jacqueline said, well, here's the thing. Mia never called to apologize or say I was a bad friend for saying things in the chat like your home is foreclosed on, which is not true. I still have my home. You don't. I said, well, Jesus, take the deed. Mia said, well, that's because we helped you pay your mortgage. I said, well, hold on. I got a question. If y'all were out here playing United Negro Mortgage Fund and y'all can pay her mortgage, why couldn't you secure yourselves a mortgage? And then Jacqueline said, but y'all never gave me $1. Y'all didn't help me. Mia said, but you still asked though. Something wrong with Mia. I can't with her. How do you sit up here and say she only still has her house because y'all helped pay the mortgage? And then when she says y'all never gave me $1, you say, oh, but you asked for it though. So did y'all give her the money or not? Because if you didn't give her the money, you didn't help her. So then Andy asked Mia, well, how much have y'all bought? We know about the Porsche. Mia said, oh no, she lied about that. What? Mia said Jacqueline lied about them paying for her Porsche because Jacqueline needed a storyline. Jacqueline said, I needed a story. No, you needed a storyline. And I would think that that's the truth because ain't Jacqueline's storyline being Mia's friend on the show? Andy said, but hold on. You said that Gordon put the down payment on your truck, but then you said he did. Like, which is it? Jacqueline said, well, I said that because Mia wanted that narrative, so I agreed to lie about it. What? This show is tragic. Jacqueline said the point of this whole narrative is for her to be presented as Mia's underling, which was a big mistake and a big untruth as she is her own woman and she don't need nobody to help her do nothing. Mia said, well, the only reason she's her own woman doing her own thing and you a CEO sitting on panels is because of the advice that Gordon gave you. I said, well, I have another question, Mia. If he could make a real CEO out of her, and she could be speaking on panels, how come he couldn't make a real CEO out of you? I'm sorry, dear, that just wasn't the flex that you thought it was. So they wrap up this Mia and Jacqueline segment by asking, is there any hope of reconciliation? And they both say no, they don't think so. Andy said, well, that's sad because yes, you ladies have gained some new friends, but you lost a sister, and so. I don't think Mia understands value and worth enough for this to even make sense to her. Like, she don't give a damn about losing a sister as long as she got these little fair weather friends she thinks she gained. So we move on to the next segment, which is bringing Charisse out. And child, what in the hairspray hell is on her head? Whoever sold Charisse that super dense wig, you dead wrong. So we see Charisse take the stage and she gives Giselle that good old we get ready to be messy in church cheek kiss. So the first question in the Charisse segment is to Robyn about how long Robyn and Charisse have known each other and if Robyn feels like Charisse has her back as much as Robyn has hers. Now here's my thing. We have to hear this story every time we see Charisse. And we have to hear that Robyn and Charisse have known each other the longest, that Juan played for the Wizards when Charisse's husband was the coach, and that's how they all got together. And girl, we don't care. Apparently, the point of this whole question is to give Robyn the opportunity to express that aside from Wendy and Karen, Charisse gets along with some of everybody in the group. So it's not just her that she's there for, which launches us straight into Charisse versus Karen. So the first viewer question to Karen is why she would refuse to go to lunch and talk through whatever issues she has with Charisse. What issue could they have that's so insurmountable that they can't discuss it over lunch? And Karen said, well, I think the viewers saw what the issue is, and it's her journey of grief, and she chooses not to discuss it. Andy said, well, if it were me and it was someone that I weren't all that cool with and they came to one of my family members' funerals, I think that would be pretty meaningful to me. Karen said, I don't give a damn what's meaningful to you. Let this be meaningful to you. This is not something I care to discuss, so I respectfully decline to answer any more of your questions. Now, of course, Charisse is willing to talk about it. She said at the time that she attended Karen's mom's funeral, she and Karen were cool. Karen is filing her damn nails. Like, I don't have time for y'all bullshit. So she don't really know what Karen is talking about. She said the reason she went is because she had been to her own fair share of funerals in her own family. Andy said, yeah, this is the first that we're ever hearing of this. Now, Andy can say that this is the first that we're hearing of this, but this is not the first time that it was brought up. And based on the footage that they showed during the season, when Charisse has brought it up to Karen, it's been out of place and out of context. So I can understand Karen's irritation, like find something else to talk to me about. So Andy decides to clarify for Karen, out of respect for Charisse, that Bravo actually reached out to Charisse and asked her to come back. He said, I haven't heard from Charisse in 4 years. She didn't reach out to me. She didn't come back on the show with this agenda of having to take Karen down. We asked her to come back. And listen, I get that. The issue isn't whether she was given this assignment when she was asked to come back. The issue is this is how you moved when you did come back. If someone is openly, actively trying to avoid you, why are you going to everybody you possibly can in your circle trying to shame this person into talking to you? Like, get a life. Charisse said, well, Andy, why do you think I was invited to Karen's Bloomingdale's event that happened after her mom's funeral? And Robyn interjects to say, and she was invited to Karen's 55th birthday party, which happened after her mom's funeral. Karen said, I didn't invite her. My assistant invited her. My thing is, why is Charisse's whole storyline about proving that Karen knows? Like, why? Karen said, here's the thing. You can say you said all this because you heard I said all that. But the issue is I've never spread rumors about you being sexually inappropriate because you have children. And the fact is, I've heard them. I've heard a lot of them about you. Charisse said, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. I said, well, excuse me. I think Katie been down to the Twitter telling the people that her and Charisse was touching each other on the inside parts. Now, I don't know how true that is. I'm just telling you what I thought I had heard, I had saw. So then Andy gets into the rumor that Mia brought about Karen. Now, all of a sudden, Mia don't want to give names and she don't want to expose people. And the person that Karen was out of town with is family to her. I said, here we go with this brothel brotherhood again. Karen said, well, you don't have to give me the name if you don't want to, but I do want you to give Andy the name because I'm going to give it to the courthouse when I sue them because it's not true. Mia said, well, if it ain't true, it ain't true. Karen said, no, Mia, you can't just spread lies about people. And then when they tell you it's a lie, you just, well, if it's not true, it's not true. You don't get to do that. Mia said the real reason she brought this rumor up was to defend Charisse. Karen kept saying that Charisse was lying on her and considered the source, but she got this rumor about Karen from a different source. So is Charisse still a liar? Like, girl, by what? She said, so since it came from a different source, she brought it to Karen, gave Karen the opportunity to address it. She said it's not true, so it's not true. Karen said, no, ma'am, it don't work like that. You don't get to just bring stories that you made up at home on your creative hour and say, hey, I heard such and such about you. And then when the person tells you it's a damn lie, you say, oh, okay, well, if you say it's a lie, it's a lie. You don't get to do that. You just sat up here and said Wendy was sleeping with somebody and it wasn't true. Now you sat up here and said I was sleeping with somebody and it wasn't true. Mia, you got to stop. Y'all, Robyn had the nerve to speak up. I can't take too much more of this. Robyn, sitting in her overflow of audacity, has the nerve to say, we don't get our rumors from the blogs. We get our rumors from personal people that we know. So what you're telling us, Karen, is all the stuff that we're getting about you from personal people that we know is untrue. I said, I know you lying. Karen said, let's be clear. I get phone calls about you, Robyn, and apparently the blogs did too. Robyn said Karen just don't want us to know what's really going on, so she want us to just be quiet. If projection, lies, and audacity were a person. So we move on to discuss Robyn's joke of a wedding and prenup. And Andy starts this segment by asking Giselle how she felt being left out of Robyn's ceremony. And she said she really thought up until the last minute that Robyn was gonna call her and be like, girl, just come on. And that didn't happen. She said she did feel a way. Robyn said, well, whatever way it felt for you, it felt right for us. So Andy asked, well, did Juan sign the prenup? Robyn said that he did. The prenup gives them a 50-50 split and gives him no option of ownership of her businesses. And there is no infidelity clause because who puts that in open marriage? Robyn said she opted out of the infidelity clause because she might be setting herself up. I said, well, why? Why would y'all get married? If y'all can't even be faithful to each other as roommates, why would y'all get married? So Andy reads a viewer question that's directed to Karen about why Karen is so obsessed with if and when Robyn is getting married. Karen said, well, she was obsessed with it because she didn't think it was going to happen. Andy goes into asking Karen about Juan's secret lover that she said looks like her. Andy said, in what way does she look like you? Karen said, just blonde, but not like that damn sketch y'all made. So Andy asked Robyn, did you go home and ask Juan about the secret lover that looks like Karen? She said, no, because that's silly. Andy said, well, what was the root of his anger on the call when you called him from Mexico? And I said, well, that would be because Juan know he got a girlfriend and Juan know Robyn know he got a girlfriend. So why is you calling me, putting me in the middle of this bullshit to deny what we already know is true? But Robyn said he just doesn't like the show. It's too much drama. Ain't he noble? So Andy moves on and brings up how Robyn got ripped apart this season for her Dollar Tree Jamboree, that family fun day that she hosted. And he read a viewer question where they asked, did she spend more than $15 on it because the event just looked sad? And the answer is hell no. She said it was a last minute event. Girl, let me tell you something. I done took $25 to the Dollar Tree at the last minute and turned out a birthday party for a child. Okay, now, granted, that was before there was $1.25 tree. It might not be as nice a party, but you could pull something off. You could have done better than this. Robyn just don't give a damn. Robyn is that employee that show up to work, don't do shit all day, and want her check early on Friday. So then Andy asked Robyn, speaking of the family fun day, how did you think it was going to go over with you disinviting Wendy from the event and then telling her to send her kids by way of Auntie Candiace? Like, what were you thinking? Robyn said, well, I thought it was a great idea. Andy said, would you send your kids to an event if Wendy told you that you weren't welcome, but you could send your kids with someone else? Robyn said, I probably would. And I don't doubt it, because if them kids was a person, it would be Robyn. Robyn said it's just that for her, she's not able to go from beefing with a person to, hey girl, what you doing next week? Wendy said, no, I think you're missing the point, but I also think you're willfully missing the point. Wendy said, if you don't want me there, that's fine. But for you to ask me to send my kids by way of Candiace, whom has never spent one-on-one time with my children, makes it very clear that you don't care anything about including my kids. You wanted to alienate them. Robyn said, but I was never trying to deliberately leave her kids out. But that's exactly what you said you were doing. And you said it with your chest at the beginning of the season. I'm like, I don't care if I'm the bad guy. I don't care if I'm being mean to kids. It is what it is. You have said that. So then Andy brings up that, Juan is in some trouble. Apparently Juan Dixon is in the news for being sued along with the university that he works for failure to report sexual harassment. There is a student that plays for him that was being sexually harassed by the assistant coach. They brought the issue to Juan and Juan failed to report it. So Andy asked, what can you tell us? How is this affecting your family? So Robyn starts with, well, I don't want to say much because this is a lawsuit, but I will say that the wrongdoings that have been alleged against Juan are not true. And I can say he handled the situation in a way that I would want it handled if it were my children. And he said, you're not taking away from what the victim is saying. Right? Robyn said, I don't know nothing about all that. I don't know who did what to who. I'm not saying that, it's not true that something went down between these young men. I don't know what happened. But what I am saying is that the wrongdoings that have been alleged against Juan are not true. And it's unfortunate that, his name has been used as kind of like clickbait to push this story. What? Is it clickbait at the courthouse? And he said, well, Robyn, you had a triumphant end to your season. So he asked, well, do you have anything to say to the haters who thought your wedding wasn't going to happen? She said, yeah, just be careful how you judge people because you never know what your situation is going to be. I said, well, call you Cleo because you just read your fortune. So that wraps up this segment. We see Charisse leaving and they're preparing for the husbands to take the stage. And let me tell you, Charisse could have stayed home. Her and her helmet could have stayed at the house because she really added nothing to the reunion for me. She could have not been here and it wouldn't have made a bit of difference for me. So we see the men take the stage and the first thing we see is Mia telling Gordon to be careful what he says to these ladies. I said, not after you done told us the man Rod and staff don't work and he ain't knocking nothing down at the house. You gonna tell him to watch what he said. Now, Andy starts the segment by greeting Ray and thanking him for his perfect attendance. Bless his heart. Ray has never missed a reunion. He is always here for Karen and her antics. We see Happy Eddie behind his wife, Wendy. Robyn's new husband is nowhere to be found. Ashley husband is hiding and pretending they getting a divorce. Giselle ain't got nobody to be seen with in public. And of course, Andy thanks Chris for even showing up after such a difficult season. So the first viewer question is to Eddie and Wendy, and they start by saying how impressed they were at Eddie and Wendy being able to laugh off delusional Deborah and her whole Happy Eddie thing. And they said, you can really tell that Eddie and Wendy have a solid marriage. And I agree. I think they're a beautiful couple. And you can tell they really do like each other. The question goes on to ask Eddie, how does he deal with being in a group where people spread such damaging rumors about other people's relationships, marriages, families? And Eddie said, well, the thing is, as long as it don't affect his family, he don't give a damn. And then even then, it takes a lot to get up under his skin. So as far as he's concerned, he letting his wife play on this show and collect a check. Well, speaking of her collecting checks, the next viewer question was, whose checks are bankrolling Wendy's business ventures? And Eddie said, listen, it is a joint effort. And yes, some of her money going into it, but more of my money is going into it. She real deep in my pockets. And Wendy gave him a good thank you. And I'm sure she gives him a good thank you. So the next question is to Gordon about going through Mia's health situation on TV. Gordon starts with, it's one of the most difficult things he's ever gone through in his life. And just to watch a loved one have to suffer through that. And here's the thing. The big thing was there were so many questions and so few answers. There were no answers. We were going to 3 and 4 appointments a week and it was... He gets so emotional at the idea of thinking of his children losing their mother. It's just too much. It's too much for me too. Let's move on. So Andy moves on and asks Gordon, well, have you and Jacquline ever had a sexual relationship? Gordon said, no, they haven't. He said, well, have you and any of Mia's girlfriends had a sexual relationship? He said, no. Andy said, except Peter Thomas's girlfriend, right? Gordon said, no. They didn't actually do the do. They just kind of played the play. There was no penetration. I wish Mia just finished telling us don't nothing work. So Andy moves on to Chris and he asked Chris the $1 million question. How did you feel when you initially heard Giselle's claims? Chris got right into it. Chris said, first of all, he was shocked. He said, but he will give Giselle the benefit of the doubt and say that he was the one that asked if they could talk in her room. Having said that, the bottom line is you said yes. You thought your team was in there. You're a grown woman. You use your mouth and you use it very well. I said, oh, shit. Giselle tried to interrupt. Chris said, no, You've had your chance to speak. You've done your interviews. You said what you had to say. Now it's my time. I see it. He about to drag her. Chris said when we got to your room, you said the only reason you agreed to go talk in your room is because you thought your team was in there. Well, once we got to your room and you realized your team wasn't in there, why didn't you speak up right then and say, let's have this conversation in the hallway or later on or somewhere other than in this room where my team ain't? Secondly, you said he needs to apologize for what he did to me. What did I do? Giselle said, Chris, that evening you said to me, can you do me a favor? Can we talk? And I said, absolutely. You then asked if we could talk in my room. And I said, fine. But then you told your wife that it was me who asked if we could talk in my room. And that's not true. So production shows the clip from last season's reunion where Chris was upset about a line of questioning towards him. So Giselle overhears him saying that he's upset and asks him, oh, you're mad? And he says to her, we'll talk about it later. Well, then they show another clip from this season of Chris at lunch with Candiace telling Candiace that he wasn't the person who asked to go to her room to talk. It was Giselle that asked about going to their room. Giselle said, you told your wife that on camera, and that's just not true. Chris said, that's fine. We can agree to disagree there. You can have your feelings. I'm not discounting your feelings, but you still haven't told me what I did. What did I do? She said, I'm getting there. Chris said, well, hurry up. And he about snapped. Chris said, you've had 10 months to run this story. Now, at this point, Chris is yelling. Chris said, I have suffered through this for 10 months, losing clients, losing money, answering to my children, answering to my family. Now, all of a sudden, Giselle is the damsel in distress who's not going to deal with this enraged man. No, ma'am. You don't get to play the damsel in distress after you've made all kinds of wild accusations about people. You don't get to lie on, malign, misrepresent a person for months on end. And then when you're confronted about it and held accountable for what you've done to this person and their reputation and their career and their family and their marriage and their relationships, when you have to be held accountable for the damage you've done, you now get to be this damsel who's not going to deal with this kind of vitriol. He gets to be angry, and you get to be as uncomfortable as it makes you. To think that your discomfort is the priority after you have destroyed someone's reputation for months on end is beyond entitled. I get the whole, oh, he doesn't have to yell. He doesn't have to talk to her like that. But you don't get to be a femme fatale and then hide behind femininity. Like, girl, go to hell. Giselle told Chris he's not going to be cursing at her because that's not cool at all. Candiace said what's not cool is your gutter snipe bitch ass lying on my family. Well, girl, I guess if you can't take it and curse out from a man, you can damn sure take it from a woman. Giselle said she hasn't lied on Chris. Andy said, well, then tell him what he did. She said, well, when we got in the room, I felt like Chris had a lot to drink and I was immediately uncomfortable. And that's what he did. Made me uncomfortable. Giselle said, you put us in that situation. You put us in the situation for me to be uncomfortable. And the next day, when she talked to that man who be tearing her damn head up with them terrible wigs, Cal told her that he spoke to Chris on the way out. So Chris knew he was gone. Chris said, well, is Cal the only member of your team? Good question, Chris. Giselle says, well, some other member of her team was already gone too. Chris said, how was I supposed to know that? Giselle said, oh, well, okay then. No, make this make sense. Chris said, so what did I do? Giselle said, the situation of me being uncomfortable, you participated in. And that's what you did. Andy has to break down to this dumbass that sounds like how he made you feel, but not what he did to you. And she's sitting there, what? Giselle said, I don't understand. That's what I said over and over again. No, that's not what you said over and over again. Andy said, when you say he needs to apologize for what he did, that's different from he needs to apologize for how he made me feel, because he didn't really do anything aside from being in the room. Chris said, Giselle brought up that she was concerned about the optics of the situation because she's a woman that's been cheated on by a man and she doesn't want to give the optics of being alone with somebody's husband. And they go back and forth about whether the room door was open or closed or locked or not. Giselle says the room door was closed and they were the only two in the room. Chris is insisting that the room door was open and he had the lock on the hotel room door, holding it open so that no one would think anything since it was just the two of them in the room. Giselle vehemently denies Chris's version of events with the whole unlocked door. She said he did leave as soon as she asked him to go check to see if they were prepared for them to come back on set. But was she absolutely uncomfortable? Yes. And I thought your wife, who was my friend at the time, should know. Chris said, oh, okay, then, well, hold on. I got a question for you. If you were that concerned and you thought my wife, who was your friend at that time, should know, why did you wait 5 months until there was a camera in your face to say something to my wife? All of a sudden, Giselle went from feeling like Candiace needed to know to she wasn't going to say anything to Candiace until Ashley came with her DM story. And so either you thought she needed to know or you had no intent of telling her until y'all got on camera. Which lie is the truth? Well, now that Giselle has brought up the whole Ashley portion of it, they go ahead and get into that too, about the DM that Ashley got from Chris, which was actually a reply to a story that she posted on social media. And Chris said he replied because it's social media and he thought people were supposed to socialize. Ashley said her issue with the message was the nature of the message, but at the time she didn't understand that that was Chris's job. And Chris thought that that was fair. Now, Ashley goes on to say, in Giselle's defense, that maybe Giselle, just felt the need to bring this issue to Candiace's attention the same way that she felt the need to bring the DM to Candiace's attention. And that's where fair ended for Chris. Chris said that's convenient. Chris brought up that every season, with the exception of this season, Giselle finds some way to bring up his peen. He said, now, I've never asked you for an apology, and I don't expect one because I never really told you that it makes me uncomfortable. But just like there's no apology for me being uncomfortable with you talking about my peen on TV every single season, there's no apology for you. Chris said, you have your feelings about the situation and that's fine. You were uncomfortable and that's fine, but that's not anything that I did. So Giselle sitting her dumb ass there, but who did? Candiace said nobody. Andy said, I can't take it. Andy said what you did to her was made her uncomfortable. And Giselle, the problem is when you say he did something to you, you make it sound bigger than it actually is. And that's the problem that he has with it. Candiace said, and for calling him a sneaky link and saying he was trying to see if you were with it. Giselle said, and I've apologized to him for that. Candiace said, when? Giselle said, I'm apologizing now. Candiace said, no, that's not an apology. And for me, it's the complete disregard and utter sense of entitlement that you think you could just drag somebody's name to the edge of criminality for months on end. And then you can just offer them a vague apology in passing mid-sentence, and that should fix everything. Now, Chris is a little less specific and more accepting. He said he understands that Giselle is apologizing now. He's willing to hear it. And she apologizes for calling him a sneaky link. That was the one part that just bothered her watching it back, girl. So Andy asked Chris about his apology to Giselle after they wrapped filming. Chris said what it basically boiled down to is he didn't want to get into it with anybody at Candiace's release party, which was their finale party. And he told production that, which is exactly why he was so pissed off with Ashley. He wanted the moment to be completely about Candiace, which is why he opted to DM Giselle. And what he basically told Giselle is, if I did anything to make you uncomfortable, for that I apologize. But I'm very upset about the choice of words that were used. And sidebar, before we even get into this, if y'all happen to notice some mess on my shirt, what had happened was they was frustrating me. And so I decided to go fix me a glass of wine in the middle of all of this. And my corkscrew broke, right? And I was not going to be defeated by a broken corkscrew. So I decided to take a knife and tap the cork down in there. Well, I had a blowout, but I got my wine. Please don't judge me. Just mind your business. Let's carry on. Chris explained that basically he didn't want to have any confrontations with anybody at Candiace's release party, so he opted to DM Giselle instead. He said he did not apologize for what he was accused of, and he refused to because the way he saw it, if he apologizes for what Giselle is accusing him of, he's owning that he did it. Giselle said, and that's still how she feels. Like it was a wrong situation and she was uncomfortable and she's entitled to her feelings. Candiace said it was a wrong situation and he was wrong are two different things. Chris said you're mixing up words to try to make a point and it's disgusting. This is the point at which Candiace went off. Candiace said, you are a garbage individual. You have no soul. And the fact that you will sit up here and act as if you are the victim, you are the reason that women can't come forward with sexual assault and sexual misconduct claims. Because you sit up here with your privileged white-looking ass and think you can say whatever the fuck you want to say and nobody's going to bat an eyelash. Mia and Ashley stepped in to tell Candiace, listen, that's too far, that's too much. And she said, no, it's not too far because it's Giselle's proximity to whiteness that enables her to sit up here and tell these lies. Mia said, but hold on, y'all can't be calling the girl white privilege and she's a black woman. Mia, you sit this out. Ashley said, but hold on. This speaks to the whole colorism conversation that we just had, and it absolutely does. So Wendy speaks up. Wendy said, listen, I know that we just had the colorism conversation, and one of the takeaways from that conversation was that we would be more mindful of our choices of words. She said, Candiace, you're my girl. I love you. I got your back forever. You said something about her white skin. Now, I know that you're angry, but on the heels of that conversation, I want you to consider just what your statement implies. Candiace said, I understand what I said and I understand what it implied, but I do receive what you're saying. Ashley said, so the conversation that we just had means nothing? Candiace said, no, the conversation still stands. Ashley said, oh, it just doesn't apply to you. So Candiace says that within the colorism conversation, there has to be room for the argument that someone that looks like her making allegations about sexual misconduct is not going to be taken as seriously as someone that looks like Giselle or Ashley. She said that's the point that she was making, and she owns that she said it in an inflammatory way, but she's not sorry for the way that she said it. She explains that she has a level of vitriol and hurt directed at this person that Ashley may not be able to understand. Ashley said, and I still don't think it's appropriate. And neither do I. Candiace says, well, we can talk about the many inappropriate things you said. Ashley said, but I've never said anything about anybody's skin color. And here's the thing about the colorism conversation is that it goes both ways. It is not okay to say that because you're a lighter skinned woman and I perceive that you already have this privilege that's going to buffer any negative thing that I have to say to you, I can say whatever I want. Because by this logic, if a non-black person is upset with a black person and they have a level of vitriol and hurt directed at that person, they can then use racially disparaging terms and phrases to express their vitriol and anger. If the tables were turned and it was Giselle who was angry at Candiace, she couldn't attack Candiace based on her skin color. It would be an immediate issue. Why is it okay to say things like that old red bitch, that yellow bitch? Why is it okay? Now, I'm not saying that Candiace doesn't have a point. There's a way to make your point. If you wanted to explain that she has a privilege based on her proximity to whiteness, explain that. But you don't have to attack her based on her skin color to do that, because you're basically saying that I can do to you what I don't want you to do to me. Now, my thing with Candiace is this. Candiace has a vocabulary and an ability to express herself that trumps just about anybody up here. Candiace could have expressed herself and made her point about Giselle's benefit from her proximity to whiteness without undermining her point with a colorist insult. Because is what Candiace saying true? Absolutely. Phaedra pulled this same kind of stunt. We ain't seen Phaedra on Bravo since. Kenya tried to hide her husband from the world. They hid her paycheck from her. And then you have Mia, who's trying to defend Giselle about she's not benefiting from her proximity. You be quiet, because you are another really good example of this. Because the truth is, Mia is sitting up here getting support for the very same thing that Monique got booted off of the show for. So yes, there is a colorism issue, but does Candiace need to check herself? Yes. So Andy wraps this whole segment up by asking Chris, does he have any final thoughts? He said Giselle offered an apology. He accepts it. Candiace says she does not. And we're clear on that. Chris said, well, this is my feeling, and I choose to accept it, and you're free to have your feeling, and you don't have to accept it. So Candiace said she's only offering an apology because it's convenient, and Andy said, well, this is a convenient time to move on. I'm tired with this shit. Andy said he would like to try to have some fun. Good luck with these heifers. So in the name of fun, he brings up the Miami and Mexico trips. That's just, child, take me out of my misery. Just here we go with this bullshit. The first viewer question to Karen is about her boobs being out, why you don't like them called titties. Karen said because titties is for dogs, okay? You might as well call them udders. She has breasts. She done paid good money for them to be called breasts. Andy asked Robyn how did Juan like her bachelorette party. She said Juan don't watch the show. We know because he don't watch you either. He don't like you. He don't give a damn what's going on as long as you bringing a check home. Then he gets into the whole Mia and Wendy showing each other their boxes. And let me tell you, this had to be the trashiest conversation I have ever watched on TV. Let's get it over. They apparently played a game of show and tell with their cooches. Wendy starts by explaining, let the record reflect, that it started with Candiace showing her cooch, followed by Ashley showing hers, then Mia, and then Wendy. There was no licking, no touching. This was just some good girl fun. This ain't good girl fun where I'm from. And then Wendy goes on to have them all verify that they said she has the prettiest box of all. And, you know, this is the that pisses me off, because Wendy just sat her ass up there crying and carrying on about how she don't with Mia, and now you're laughing and kikiing about showing your box to the same. I'll be damned if I'm gonna be out here running my pressure up behind your public tears when y'all giving each other private shows. I'll be damned. So they're just carrying on about who had the prettiest cooch, and Gordon said, well, did y'all show production your cooches? Well, no, Gordon. There's another platform for that called OnlyFans. Andy said, well, y'all can show each other y'all's JJ's, but y'all can't get along. Yeah, y'all should be embarrassed. This is the epitome of an absence of class. Now, before he lets the guys go, Andy gives Ray the opportunity to address the allegations against Karen during the season. Ray said he felt like the season was nasty and he was disappointed with pretty much all the ladies. He said even Karen is typically more reserved, but she couldn't help but react to some of the nastiness that was thrown her way. Karen said, nah, be more specific. Ray, he asked you specifically what you thought about the rumors. Ray said, oh, the rumors is bullshit. Andy asked Ray, so you're basically dismissing this photo that's floating around of Karen at this bar. And Ray said, Andy, have you seen the picture? Andy said, yeah, I mean, it's only from the back. Karen said, I don't know that it's me because nobody ever showed me the picture. Giselle says, well, there was a picture that 99.9% looks like you. Andy said, but she was also just at a bar. Like, what's the big deal? Giselle said, no, the issue is we had a whole picture as a receipt for you, but you came with rumors about Juan with no receipts. Karen said, well, hold on now. If it's receipts you want, it's receipts you can get. Somebody hand me my phone. Big Daddy Ray saved Robyn. He said, no, baby, don't do it. They newlyweds. Don't tear the house down. And you know, Karen gonna do what Big Daddy Ray say. So now Robyn speaks up to be the victim that she has an issue with. When they were in Mexico, Karen was implying that Juan sexually assaulted her by squeezing her too tight. And is that what you were implying? Girl, go to hell. Then Robyn has the nerve to cite Chris and say, because as Chris said, these allegations hurt and they stick. Girl, Karen said, no, that's not what I'm implying. But did Juan touch me? Yes. And Ray ran Robyn's game right back on her. He said, yeah, and the day that it happened, she came and told me about it. And I actually talked her through it the same way Robyn claims that Giselle came to her when Chris made her uncomfortable. So now Robyn is playing dumb about, but Karen, how does a tight hug make you uncomfortable? Girl, if you could understand Giselle being uncomfortable and have the nerve to sit up on this reunion about, let's just all agree that a married man shouldn't be in a single woman's room under any circumstances. If you could see through all that bullshit, surely you can understand why your wayward husband squeezing this woman into his chest could make her uncomfortable. Karen said, did Juan sexually assault me? No, but does he need to learn to keep his hands off of women? Yes. So this reunion and the season come to an end with Andy thanking the guys for being sacrificial lambs. And he brings out a Bluetooth speaker and plays Candiace's song as exit music. Child, thank you, it's over. But not quite, because then we see the rest of the one-on-one footage between Andy and Robyn. And honestly, they could have kept this. I got absolutely nothing from this one-on-one between. We literally listened to Robyn tell the same story that we already heard on Watch What Happens Live about this not believable lie her and Juan are running about him being Captain Save-A-Hope, the international edition. She claims to have never seen the communications or interactions with them. She does not believe anything physical happened. She believed they were just talking. Girl, Andy said, and you believe that? She said, yeah. This apparently happened in November. Filming started in March, and that was her reason that she didn't share it. It already happened. They had already worked through it. It ain't nobody's business, girl. When Andy asked this lady, why wouldn't you bring it up that you were going through an issue of infidelity when you're on a reality TV show about your life where the hot topic had been infidelity, this heifer had the nerve to say, because I was waiting for Karen to bring it up. And she just sat there and didn't say anything. So wait a minute. It's the audacity for me. You mean to tell me Karen not dragging you to hell by your business is responsible for you not telling your story? Andy, of course, explained to Robyn that Candiace is pissed with her. She's playing dumb, but she don't know why. She ain't got nothing to do with what Candiace went through. He explains to her about you hid your story while you participated in making Chris the sacrificial lamb, but she ain't got nothing to do with nothing. It was just a bunch of bullshit. Robyn just kept running in circles about why she's not sharing what goes on in her life when she's on a show about what goes on in her life. And I ain't going in these circles with her and Andy. So that's it. That's all. And I got no more. Thank you so much for coming down here, listening to me, and letting me get this off my chest, because I'm sick of them. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not already, because I do have 12.2 thousand subscribers. So if you're not in the number and you'd like to be in the number, please click the button. And in the meantime, until next time, just like every time, I love you and I mean it. Bye.